Hi, and welcome to the Pandemic People Podcast. My name is David Roman, and I'm your host. Today's date is May 16th, 2020, and today on the show, we're highlighting a fundraising initiative that has roots in Saskatchewan as well as British Columbia. The initiative is called Art Feeding Families, and it is run by a mother-daughter combo by the name of Kathy and Krystal Glowatski, who both have connections to Weyburn, Saskatchewan, where, if you haven't guessed by now, that's where I'm from. Art Feeding Families connects consumers with artists. And what happens is the consumers bid on a piece of art, and all of that money that they bid goes towards a charity. So far, the initiative has already raised thousands of dollars towards charities like the Canadian Food Bank. What's also impressive is this initiative has already caught the eye of some pretty high-profile people, such as actor and filmmaker Casey Affleck, as well as best-selling author Shannon Maroney. I'm really excited to find out the specifics of what my next guests have been doing, so let's not wait any longer. Let's grab those virtual bags, let's grab those masks, and we're heading to Weyburn and Vancouver at the same time, so it's going to be a bit of a party. Here we go. Hi, and welcome back to the Pandemic People Podcast. I'm sitting here with a couple of folks here in Canada, from Vancouver and from Weyburn. This is Kathy and Krystal Glowatski. Hello, girls. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Really good. It's a nice sunny day here in Regina, so I'm trying
and
to enjoy
windy.
that as much as I can. And windy. It's always windy.
It always is windy. Yeah.
If you're in
It
Saskatchewan.
actually got windy here yesterday, and it was very surprising. We're sitting here looking out the window, thinking, "What's going on now in the world?" It's never windy in Vancouver,
right? Yeah. I know. It's just rainy and gloomy, right? Isn't that that's your reputation. So I guess we have you on the show here. We know a little bit about each other because we all grew up in I guess we all lived in Weyburn at one point in time. Maybe tell me a bit about tell me about yourselves. I guess you're a mother-daughter combo here on my show, and maybe tell me about where you're from, your background, that kind of stuff.
You go ahead first.
Okay, I knew you would say that. Well, I probably started it first. So I moved here when I was in grade 2. So I classify that as growing up here because
awesome.
It's a majority of my life, and I've never left. I love the community. It's a great little town, and for raising kids, it's pretty good. So anyways, and then my mom had a ceramic shop, and retired. I took over the ceramic shop here in Weyburn. But it kind of got to be a thing of the past, sort of. And I just went on to different careers. So, and the kids grew up with a lot of art around. And so that's kind of, Krystal did a lot of stuff when she was younger. And so in the last few years, I've just kind of reconnected with my passion for art. Kind of started with, I did a little bit of crocheting. And then last spring, I was walking out in the country with my dogs, and I would pick up rocks. And let me tell you, they were some long walks back to the car, all of these rocks. But because I would see things like a ladybug or a bee or a dinosaur head. And so then I just went to the dollar store, started painting them up, and it kind of exploded from there. So, but it's been amazing how therapeutic it is for me, for sure. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Krystal and I, when we get together, and even my son, we like to sit around and paint and visit, and it's good. So that's kind of what brought us to what we're doing today, I guess.
So Krystal, you grew up in a bit of an artistic household, then I guess you could say. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Like my mom, like mom said, grandma owned the ceramic shop, all of ceramics. So that was a part of my life right from the very get-go, from the time that I was born. Way 100 years ago, and and so growing up around that, and then mom took over the ceramic business from grandma in, I think it was 96 or 97.
Yeah, that's right, 96.
And I remember mom being in the shop for very long hours, and it was kind of like, if you wanted to spend time with mom, you needed to come out to the ceramic shop, because that was where her passion was, and what her, like, a lot of actually like her income too came from doing the ceramic business. So it was go in there and hang out and paint frogs and paint turtles and paint cherubs and angels and dinosaurs and all sorts of really fun stuff. So it was really nice. I really enjoyed it, and I've really missed it, and I'm so glad to be doing this again.
That's cool. Yeah. So then I guess just to give my listeners some context here. So obviously I have you on the show because you're doing your own initiative here during the pandemic, right? We have Art Feeding Families, I believe it's called. And it's kind of neat. I like your story. Like, so it seems, growing up, you two connected through art quite a bit. And is this, in some ways, do you find that what's going on right now is you two kind of reconnecting through art a little bit? Obviously, you're not living in the same place, so it's a little different. But or has that connection kind of always carried on throughout your life?
You could never break that connection.
No.
we're as tight can be, and no matter where she is, or she's gone a lot of places. Let me tell you, this little while. But yeah, no, we can be in the same room and know exactly what we're thinking. So that's
awesome.
That's how I explain our connection. So
have you ever done any art together? Like anything that, like projects that you've kind of displayed that are both of you together working on it?
No, actually, we haven't done any collaborative type things. We usually we each are set up with whether mom's visiting me out here in Vancouver or I'm visiting her back home. We each have like our easel and our paints, and we're doing our own thing. So yeah, no, that's a really great idea though. We should definitely do that.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe
like we do some on FaceTime, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you do it together kind of thing, right? But
that's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we even we'll throw the video on for FaceTime, and I'll set mom up on top of my coffee maker, and we'll both be sitting here, and we won't even talk for like 4 hours, and we'll just sit and be each painting our own pictures, and then showing each other updates throughout. Right. And look at this, and how can I make this better? And so it's been something that's been really nice to be able to keep us connected and give us something to do. Besides just there's only so much sometimes that you can talk in any given day, and so it's still nice to be able to sit with somebody that you really care about and do that.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I've heard of other people doing like paint nights through Zoom and things like that too, right? So where people all get together and like somebody will just teach them how to paint something, and it's obviously we'd probably much rather be in person, but I think it's really cool that we have the ability to, we're all sitting in 3 different cities right now chatting with each other. So
yeah. 10 or 15 years ago, this wouldn't have been happening,
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had really the capability, or 15 or 20 years, I guess, ago.
Yeah.
If this pandemic had happened, we wouldn't have that ability to be able to connect in this way. So
right. So I guess that brings me to my next question. And I know, Kathy, you mentioned a little bit about this already, but what about the pandemic kind of made you think, hey, I want to start something where I'm going to use my art to help out here? Like what was your thought process around coming up with that?
Well, I don't know how to explain it really. We got talking, and like I said, the art thing has really taken off for us we have always had it, but then life gets in the way, and Krystal goes to university, I get a career, whatever. But so we're like, what could we do to help, right? And so it's actually quite amazing how, I said we are so connected, but yet we work well together. Like we kind of come up with this idea, and we're like, how could we help people, not just monetary, but through a medium, which being art, right?
Right.
So then, we just started talking about it, and we got all these paintings that we've been doing over FaceTime. Or Krystal had been home in February because I lost my mom in February, and she is the patriarch of painting. Like she taught Krystal how to paint a picture, like the principles that go behind it, I guess. And so we're like, we love it so much, we keep doing it, and my walls cannot take very many more paintings. Like, why don't we try doing something, an auction? Like, I think Krystal came up with the idea about the auction, but together we worked the details out because we didn't want to touch any money because, we're doing this to help people, but we got talking, and it's like, okay, well, how about they donate to whoever they want to, whether it be Salvation Army, food banks, and we've had people all over North America, and then they donate to what's important to them, right?
Oh,
so
cool.
Just she's there and I'm here doesn't mean that we're going to say, well, you have to donate here if you live here. You can donate to wherever you want. And then when it comes time to receive their whatever purchase that they made, Krystal's like, well, we can't really pay for that. And I said, well, no, but we can send them COD. And so we've made that clear to the bidders and stuff that's how it works, because we have already donated their time and their work, so it's not really fair to ask them to pay for shipping because it has gone all over North America. So that's kind of how it came up. Krystal, did you have anything else that you thought?
Yeah, no, it was just, I remember that weekend in March, it was right after the sort of like when things sort of started getting really sort of crazy and unreal, and we were just like talking to each other, and I'm like, what is going on? And we were watching the news, and I felt so helpless. And like, I was like, we need to do something. And so then again, like everything that Mom said, we just started talking, and one thing led to another, and now here we are. We have sent over $3,687 to date to food banks, primarily in the Southeast Saskatchewan area. There was a rather large donation made to a food bank in Chicago, and lots of donations to Food Banks Canada, so across the entire country. And people are sending us their receipts to prove that they have made their donation, so that then we can contact the donor of the art item, who then knows that the person has made that donation on their behalf, or not on their behalf, but to win that item. So
that's really cool. So it's, in some ways you're connecting people in different areas too at the same time, right? Because I mean, some of these are all these artists. Are they all local, or are they can they be from anywhere? Basically, anybody who wants to get involved. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like we've had people from all over Canada. So we've had from coast to coast to coast, actually. We've had donations, and we've had a couple of big name donors from the US. We had 2 donations from Casey Affleck. I'm not sure if you know who Casey Affleck is.
Yes, and,
I do. Floriana Lima as well. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how are people finding out about it then? Like, I mean, drawing Casey Affleck's attention is something very unique. So, I
actually know Casey. So so it was more of I had mentioned that we were doing this thing, and he's like, hey, I have a couple things that I donate. And one happened to be this really beautiful hand carved baseball bat that he made on a lathe out of maple and ashwood, I believe. And then he stains them. If you check out Casey Affleck on Jimmy Kimmel, you can see an episode where he gives one of his bats that he's made to Jimmy Kimmel as well. So.
Really? Wow. That's a super interesting, like, I guess, turnaround for this whole story, right? Like, I mean, to have some attention like that. And has he been supportive then too, and kind of sharing what your folks are doing too?
He's not big on social media at all.
Oh, shoot. He's one of those people.
When I told him about the initiative, he's like, hey, I actually can't see the whole page because I don't know how to use that Facebook. So
really? Oh, wow.
He doesn't have Facebook. So
that's super interesting.
Let me sort of be the bridge between his donation and the award, or the ones who won the items. So he had the badge, and then also a movie called Light of My Life, which is that he wrote and directed and starred in, about how to raise a child in a post-pandemic world.
Oh.
And like, how wild is that? Hey,
was that something that came out just recently before this? Then
in 2019.
In 2019, wow.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, isn't it, Krystal?
I'm not sure if it's on Netflix or not, but he donated a copy of the DVD with a personalized note to the winning bidder. So.
No way! I haven't heard of this film. I'm gonna have to check it out now. And what have you found has been the overall response to this project? Like, are people reaching out to you from various places, or like how are these connections being made, I guess?
It's hard to say. I mean, we started the page, and it started off with each of us, hitting that send all button to all of our contacts. And then all of those, not all of them, but, a good number of those people following the page, liking the page, and sharing the page. We have some folks in Weyburn who were integral in sort of sharing the page constantly at the very beginning, especially when we first started. And I think that helped to bring a lot more awareness and attention to what we were doing, which was great. Then we were also on the radio with Darren in Weyburn a couple of times, as well as in the Weyburn Review. So it's been good to have that extra exposure beyond just, paying to boost an ad every once in a while on Facebook in hopes that more people will see what we're doing. So it's nice to have that sort of a number of different mediums in which it's being shared and broadcasted. And now this is awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully I can bring a few new people your direction.
Yeah.
Probably have some crossover from the Weyburn crowd, because I know there's definitely some Weyburn listeners. I was actually interviewed on their radio a few weeks back too as well. So I know they're always looking for stuff that people are doing. So
For sure.
Oh, super awesome. So I guess it's kind of like a deeper question, I guess. And I know, Kathy, you kind of mentioned something already about, how therapeutic this is for you. So I guess one of the deeper things about what you're doing that I find really fascinating is this idea of connecting people's art, like literally in real time. Like you have somebody in this one city buying this piece from this artist in this other city, and so those two are connecting through art in their own way, and then you're also helping at the same time. So I guess my thought is, like, besides, like, I guess what you're doing, I guess, but what do you think the role of art is during a pandemic like this? Like, how does it impact people?
Do you want to speak, or do you want me to?
You go.
Okay, so my ideas and my thoughts around this are that we are living in a time of like large scale trauma. Mm-hmm. We're experiencing trauma in real time, whether people realize it or not. And art has been proven empirically and in practice that to be a healing medium. I mean, you have arts-based healing, you have arts-based therapy, all these different sort of streams, arts-based counseling, arts-based restorative justice practices, arts-based other justice practices. You have art in schools, art in communities. Art is a part of our lives, no matter where or what you're doing. You could be anywhere in the world and you are looking at a piece of art. Somebody designed the home that you're sitting in right now.
Right.
Somebody designed this program that we're using right now. And these can be considered mediums of art of different types. And I guess to be a little personal about it, I've experienced trauma. I've experienced, everybody has shame, trauma, guilt, sadness, despair, loss, all of these different things that are a normal part of our lives, unfortunately.
Right.
But they can be helped along in the healing that needs to happen by art. And so that's what I think my mom and I really love about doing art, and being able to use art as sort of a bridge to build community between people. So yeah, anything you want to add, Mom?
Well, yeah, and we're finding too that isolation is, I mean, I heard, like I work at Weyburn Police Service, but I've actually been on this because I'm waiting for surgery. But anyways, so I'm not really connected because I've been off, but I hear on the radio and, the number of domestic calls and this and that. So, I mean, we're all isolated, and I don't even want to open that can of worms, like, because I don't know a lot about it, but it's just that when people feel isolated, it causes a lot of anxiety, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, and everybody's stuck at home, right? Not just, those people, but, I don't know. Now I'm just rambling, but I just feel like if you can't talk about your trauma, this is what I'm trying to say. I've seen people that will be painting and they'll just start crying and you don't even know why. It's a way of getting things out, right?
Mm-hmm. They might not know why they're crying either.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Krystal and I we love art so much, and we both have huge hearts and we love to help people. I think both of our careers so far have allowed us to do that, and maybe our lives will take a different direction. You never know.
Right. I can completely relate to the idea of, the way art impacts your mental health, or even just, like using that as a medium to express yourself. Yep. Sometimes words or actions don't really do it. So art has to, kind of thing. Right. So, and I just, my background a little bit, like I'm a musician. Well, I mean, more of a composer, I suppose, but I work in film and television a little bit. So I make some music for those kinds of things, and quite often it's like social issue type films that I'm working on. So yeah, there's some odd times in my studio where I'm working on a piece and like I've always been affected by it emotionally, but then there's always that one moment where I'm like oddly affected and I don't really know where it's coming from, and you're making something in private crying, and it's very strange to experience that, but then it's also very therapeutic, and
it certainly is. Yes,
there's a very large release, right?
Yeah. I mean, art, I think, is it is meant to provoke emotion.
Right.
And so it's, of course you would use it to, you know, to deal with emotion or to deal with grief or loss or whatever. Like when Grandma passed away in February, after Grandma passed, sitting in the hospital with her for 3 days while she was dying, we then went down into the studio after we got home from the hospital. And well, I guess we showered first because we hadn't done that in 3 days. And then we went down to the studio and we painted for 2 or 3 days. Like, not straight, we're not manic. We didn't sleep, but like it was all that we did. And it was just nice to spend that time together and to honor Grandma, because that was, you know, she was the artist and she's the one who, I don't know. I mean, maybe we would be here if it wasn't for her, but I don't know. Maybe we wouldn't, you know, wouldn't be having this passion and this love for what it is that we do. So, yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful picture that you're painting in my mind with that description. No, that's awesome. You know, one of the things that I'm always thinking about right now with what's going on with the pandemic too is, you know, just how much I'm hoping people understand the value of art now too, right?
Right.
Considering that, I mean, when you're sitting at home all day alone, like what do you do? After a while, you just got to start experiencing art, because there's really not a whole lot else to do anymore, right? You can only
exactly. You know, like you watch the news. And they even tell you, this is just, I think, so funny. They will say, you know, if you're having, you know, anxiety and you're feeling vulnerable at home, turn the news off. We want you to turn the news off for a while, because that's depressing.
100%. Yeah. It's, you know, and it's almost by design that they want to just clickbait you into all these like doom and gloom things on their sites and stuff. And it gets overwhelming. You know, I think I've talked to a lot of other people in previous podcasts about kind of the early times of, you know, when this first started. And I know, like for me, in the first couple of weeks, I was checking in way too often. You know, I'd be scrolling constantly. Well, and I used to just scroll Facebook to mind numb. So like I'm not very serious on Facebook. But then, you know, it was like everybody sharing nonstop like news stories about the pandemic, and I was just like, I can't do this. Like I can't. After a while, I realized, you know, it was not good for my mental health either.
I think for those early days, for all of us, it was like your jaw was on the floor. Like what's going on, right? Like who knew that we would be living through this right now? Like it's unbelievable at times.
Well, and I don't know if you're aware, actually today marks the 2-month anniversary of the first confirmed case in Saskatchewan.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Today being May 12th, of course, this will come out later, but but interestingly enough, also for our listeners, I mean, I've mentioned this last week too, is we have 0 active cases in your region for sure. In Regina area, there's only 1, and we haven't had any new cases in quite a while. So there's some hope, I think, in some
for sure.
You know, hopefully what's happening up north can be helped, and then keep our province safe. But kind of segueing from that, then how has it been for, I guess maybe for you, Kathy? I'll ask you first. Being in kind of rural Saskatchewan, a smaller town, how has it been? I guess what kind of things have happened in your daily life, I guess, because of the pandemic?
Well, I'm actually just really thankful that I do have my art, because I don't know, I'm not much of a TV person, like other than the news. If you come in, it'll be on, but and you know, there's a few shows I like. So I've said, if not once, like 100 times, that I'm so glad that I have this to come down and do. And whether it's just come down and move things around a bit, or clean up a bit, or paint a picture, like it. And again, like I'm not real great with my right hand, because the surgery I'm waiting for is on my arm, but I can definitely pour paint and roll it, and you know, I can do some of that fun stuff. So but yeah, it just, like I said, just a kind of I guess what really got me is that, like we talked about the first few weeks, and you're watching this and it's like, is this really happening? And then how quickly it became normal. Mm-hmm. We're just like minions. Like you go uptown, somebody comes around the aisle, they move away. I mean, we're all now programmed the same way. It's actually kind of interesting to see what's happened, I guess.
Very quick adjustment period. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it still doesn't feel normal, but at the same time it is you just do it, and it's just like, I can totally relate to that. It's how quickly we've all just jumped onto the bandwagon. I mean, that's what they're saying we have to do, so we're doing it, right? Yeah. But will it ever be, you know, you turn around the corner with your cart and you see Mary from down the street, you know, and stop and talk. We don't do that now.
you just going, so it's going to be interesting times, but, and, like with this whole art thing, maybe I shouldn't jump into this right away, but, we did start doing kits, and I don't, maybe you were going to.
No, do tell.
But, so just about the community anyways. So yeah, we just talked one day and I said, you know what, like, it'd be really cool. We're doing this auction and they get art and stuff, but why don't we see if people like doing what we do? Obviously not everyone's going to say, oh, that's my career, I'm going to be an artist. That's not, it's just to have that time with your family, because everybody's isolated at home and there is only so many things to do, right? So then they took off like crazy. They've slowed down a little bit because I think maybe Mother's Day, but yeah. And then we've asked them to put pictures on, like that they've done of their pots, and it's really cool. So I will just throw this in. We've sold 21 of the plant pot kits so far, 2 frame,
cool
picture frame kits, and we have $164.20 extra because what we did is, because I can't afford to pay for everybody to paint, but so I would do up the kits and I worked it out kind of to the penny, and so then we just get my cost back and then whatever extra, and it's anywhere between $4 and $8 per kit depending on what they got. We just have kept that aside, and what we're going to do with that is go and buy gift cards from local businesses so we can help our own community that way too. So.
And we're buying those gift cards to raffle off to anybody who has purchased a kit.
Right.
So it's like you get a chance to get, more than what you paid for.
Right.
Not just the kit, but also a chance to be entered in the raffle. We're just kind of working on those stages right now and hoping that we have a little more uptake in some of the kits in the next week or so. And then I think, Mom, you're going to go out and buy those gift cards and do a raffle with everyone who's purchased. So
yeah, for sure.
When it sounds like so with these kits, it's a little more interactive for the people buying them, right? Like they get to give money to this, but then also have something they can do and keep themselves.
And if they enjoy
occupied.
it, like they get set up with like with their plant pot, the dirt, if you can believe it, and a flower to plant in it, and then we did the 6 primary colors, and again, just a quick. How Krystal and I work so well together. Like I was thinking, I'll see if they want blues or purples or pinks or this, that. And she's like, Mom, she says, give them the primary colors because you can make any color you want out of the primary colors, right?
Right.
And she was so right, because when they were busy coming in, I'm like, holy man, am I glad I don't have to sort that out. Yeah. And then I picked 2 or 3. I've been giving 3 brushes, brushes I know that will work on whatever object they got. And then I threw in some fun stuff like Q-tips and a sponge and stickers and, like a little string that they could tie around the plant pot, make a bow. And so I've just had
glitter. Don't forget the glitter.
Oh, and the glitter. Who doesn't love glitter? So that's been fun. And
great.
Just hoping that our community, has fun doing it as well. And like I said, then we can give back to our businesses, local businesses too. So,
the more we can network, I feel like through this pandemic with these kinds of initiatives, like the better, right? You really build that interest and that cross contamination of or local funding, I guess, right? It's just, not to be too punny there, but I'm totally on board with that. Mm-hmm. I just want to backtrack a little bit there, Krystal, just because I'm curious, because you're out in Vancouver, and I have actually talked to somebody out in Burnaby, and but probably a very different line of work than what you're in. But what has it been like for you out there in Vancouver? I know BC is having some pretty good success considering your population size with how many cases they have. But what's it been like for you with your daily living, I guess?
Yeah. So I'm actually in New Westminster, which is like kind of a suburb. Like it's 20 minutes by train to downtown Vancouver. So it's not like I'm, way out by Chilliwack or anything, but it's been, I don't know what day it was. It was the last week or 2 of March when things were like, okay, we're going to start, shutting down or like moving things to remote and like just all these different like words and terminology and, social distancing, which I really, really dislike that term because I just don't think that it should have been called that. I think it should have been called physical distancing, but that's my sociological background and work in relational fields like restorative justice. So we very quickly, within a matter of 24 hours, decided that we were not going to be offering classes first it was like, oh, sorry, I teach at Simon Fraser University. I guess I should have mentioned that. So I teach university, and I'm in my 6th year of my PhD right now. So I'm just finishing.
In human justice then, or in, restorative justice? Criminology. Okay.
Yeah, with a focus on restorative justice. And my research looks at the experiences being related to violent offender. Oh. So the experience of being somebody's daughter who committed a violent crime, or somebody's mother or whatever. And so, we very quickly went from, no classes above 250 to the next morning, no classes above 50, to by the end of that Friday, no classes at all, and everything to be put online. So for the first little while, I actually didn't really leave the house much because most of my work is from home anyways. There was just one class that I was teaching in person that had to be moved into remote learning. And there was no toilet paper since middle of March. No toilet paper. We couldn't find any for 6 weeks. So we were begging, borrowing, and stealing from our landlords and from friends. And it was insane. It's still insane. It's still never on the shelves here. I do not understand. I want to really talk about that whole toilet paper fiasco, but essentially I just don't understand that. There's no cleaning supplies on the shelves still in many places. So I can't find the normal cleaning supplies I use all the time, Lysol wipes and Lysol spray for when I'm cleaning the cat litter, and bleach I finally found the other day at the dollar store when I had to go out for something else. And I personally limit the amount that I go out, just trying to do my part to be socially responsible. But if I'm being honest, in the last probably about 2.5 or 3 weeks, it doesn't really look like anything different here. Things are really starting to just become normal again. And it's kind of funny how quickly that seems to be happening. We live right on a flight path from Vancouver International Airport. And so you'll be sitting, and Mom can testify to this too, you'll be sitting on my patio, and every 30 seconds to 2 minutes, there's a plane going over at some different level and in some different direction. And for about 2.5 or 3 weeks, I want to say that there was nothing. It was just all of a sudden there was a plane one day, and I'm like, oh my God, what is that? You're just completely shocked all of a sudden. And now it's there's probably about, there was maybe 2 a day last week, and now there's probably about 4 or 5 a day this week. And it's just I just have this feeling that things are just slowly going to fall back into some sense of normal. There's not really any, okay, it's all over now, everybody, it's okay. It's just kind of a stage by stage thing, I guess. So.
Yeah. And I think that definitely is what nationally seems to be our approach, right? Is I know here in Saskatchewan, it's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So there's a gradual kind of loosening, and it's all experimentation, I think, at this point.
Definitely.
I was reading an article about Germany today, and they had I think they had their cases tripled from one day to the next, and they've recently loosened things about a week ago. So I guess when I think of experimentation, I think of the idea we're going to have to loosen and try things and see where that goes, and then quickly claw back when it's not working, and it's going to be a lot of trial and error, I think, unfortunately.
And unfortunately, I think that's going to result in a lot of frustration for a lot of folks.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't quite understand the gravity of what's happening, and that it's not something we're just going to move on from right away. Right.
Yeah. But especially what I mean by if you give people, more freedom and loosen restrictions, but then have to claw back, I can see that would be something that a lot of people would be very frustrated with. I get very frustrated when I see people in the United States, and I know that, sorry, this is Canada based, but people protesting about you have a right to a haircut. You don't even have a social charter. We don't have a social charter in Canada. You don't even have a right to food and shelter. And you're going to put some moronic thing on a sign that says you have a right to a haircut. Get off of it,
Yeah. Thankfully, we haven't had too many protests here in Canada. There've been a few. Right? The whole Yahoos at Queen's Park thing that was in the media recently. That was probably the biggest one. But I think Vancouver, there was an attempted protest, but it was so small. If I'm not
there was,
mistaken.
I think yesterday or the day before, I saw that.
Yeah. So it's only a few people here not figuring things out. I can speak for Regina a little bit, and again, it's all anecdotal, but. People are way too relaxed here. I'll be honest with you.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that we don't have any, we only have one active case in our area, and I don't even know if it's in the city. It might just be Regina area. And that one is likely going to be resolved soon. And there haven't been any new cases here in, I think, over 10 days, maybe even 12 days. Wow. It's been a while. And so I've noticed that, like, I don't really go out much. And actually, for the first month and a half, I only went to do click and collect groceries, and that was it. But I had to go out because of medical stuff. My car broke down, so I had to go out and actually see what was going on. And I was like, okay, well, at least it's a little safer right now, apparently. So anyways, I walked into stores and it was like culture shock for me, because I was expecting like tons of people to be kind of paranoid and to be, like there's arrows on the ground and there's hand sanitization stations, which is fine. But in terms of like people's demeanor, it was like almost nobody's wearing masks. People are just kind of going wherever they want, doing whatever they want. Lots of people, like, went close by me, and I had to kind of, like it was, I was expecting it to be a lot more tense, and which is, like, again, I don't like that tenseness necessarily, but I know it's kind of necessary for us to be cautious right now. So I was quite surprised at how lackadaisical some people seemed. And again, I can only speak from a few different places I entered, but in most cases, I was the only one wearing a mask and the only one following the arrows on the ground and that kind of stuff. Right. So I hope we don't pay a price for that kind of, lackadaisical.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah. So no, it's kind of neat to see the contrast of what's going on in the different places around Canada, because we are, even the three places we live in are kind of vastly different in some ways, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
for
sure, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's super neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is something I've been asking a lot of my guests, and I guess just to kind of get off this, this will be the last serious thing, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Yep.
But I've been kind of wanting to hear messages about, where you think things are going, or a message for yourself in the future, like think a year from now, what would you look back on and want to tell somebody, So maybe, Kathy, if you want to share something that you think would be, impactful, or
regarding what we're going through now.
Yeah. Like a message for the future, for your future self or future generations.
Oh boy, that's a tough one.
Put you on the spot.
Well, okay. So one of my famous sayings is, and as tough as it is, and people never like to hear it, things happen for a reason. And I have found that true, even when it's something that might be hard to handle or you don't like at the time. And when you look back, so looking back a year from now or whatever, as tough as it's been, and we can't control it. First of all, we just have to try to do our best in it. And hopefully we've all learned something through it. And and I guess with what we're doing, I would just like to look back and hope that it's given a little outlet to people in this time of uncertainty. So, yeah.
Awesome. How about yourself, Krystal? Now you've had a moment to reflect on.
Yeah, I was listening to her. I wasn't thinking about what I was saying. That's one of the cursings and a bless about being a restorative justice facilitator, is that half the time we use a talking piece in restorative justice. So you'll have not obviously not this, but like something meaningful, a stick, or not a stick, a stone that's meaningful or something. And so you give it to the next person. And the nice thing about it is that there's never pressure, that you're not having a two-way conversation where you have to think about your immediate response. And so it's made me into a lot better of a listener, because I'm always just listening for the sake of listening, not for the sake of responding. Anyways, I digress, total diatribe there.
No. I'm a social work major, so I can appreciate all that stuff.
Yeah. So anyways, half the time the talking piece gets to me and I'm like, oh shoot, sorry, I wasn't ready. Let's see if there was advice that I could give myself a year from now, or a message to people. Well, if we want to do cliche sayings, I guess this too shall pass.
Right.
That we are in, like I said, we are in a very interesting time. What's that saying? May you live in interesting times. Well, we are living in interesting times right now. And I think that we all just need to be able to do what we can for ourselves and for each other, and remember that, community is more important than consuming, than consumerism. And if we're able to make a bridge to different communities through the art initiative that we've started with the kits and with the auction, and then at least we'll know that we did something meaningful with this time that we were, I guess, given.
I really like what you said there, with the consumption piece and the community piece. I almost hope that one of my big feelings from all of the things going on is I'm hoping that we start understanding that consumption is the intention of consumption is to like feed community, whether it's physically, whether it's emotionally, whether like the idea that like consumption should serve us, not the other way around. Right. So,
Yes.
so I really like what you're doing with your project, because there is a consumption piece to it, as in somebody's buying a piece of art, but then there's, the helping aspect of that. There's the therapeutic aspect of that. There's like, it's such an interesting transaction as a whole. And I'm really hoping that, coming out of the pandemic, that we can find more and more things like that. And for myself, we have to stay so isolated right now, and we're not going out and shopping as much and doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like how much that part is not even. I'm not missing that part at all. Like I don't care that I can't go buy a pair of pants, or I can't like that's not even the piece of. We're mostly people are missing community, right? People are missing people. They're missing going out and being a part of something and that kind of stuff. So
it leaves a big void in people's lives right now, right?
Yeah, I agree. Like I am a self-professed shopaholic for most of my life, and have definitely tried to find happiness at the bottom of a shopping bag on more than one occasion. And I got to tell you that I haven't felt a void from that. And if anything, I find more meaning in picking up the phone and calling my mom or my dad, or talking on Friday nights with my best friends and having wine and FaceTiming, or sitting and painting with mom in silence on FaceTime. I found a lot more happiness and meaning in those things. And so, I think that art is a very meaningful, it's a meaningful tool and medium that can be used to create connection for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So I guess the last thing I'll ask then is about, tell me a little bit, where can people, I guess, find your stuff or get involved in the Art Feeding Families initiative?
She's looking at me. Okay. We have the page on Facebook, so most people can find it there. And I'm in Weyburn, and like I said, the kits, we're really only doing it here because it would just get too much for not only me running it down, but the mail service, like and that's the other thing with the items that have previously been purchased. We're just kind of sitting back and telling people to wait to send it until it's, deemed a little safer. And because we don't want to overburden the postal service either at this time, right? Because they're
additional risk.
So but I'm here in Weyburn, not hard to find, and I still have, we had such a run on with the pots there for the first few days. And even with Mother's Day gone, that people can still just sit down with your families evening on a weekend, and you can all sit and paint. So we still have quite a few of the plant pot kits and the flowers. And anyone that knows me knows I'm not very good with flowers. So if anyone wants to help me out by purchasing a kit and get them out so they have a chance to live, that would be great. Right, Krystal?
Yes,
Time
she is
sensitive,
not
right?
good.
I'm trying my darndest, but so
I don't know where I got my green thumb from, but it was not from you.
No.
that was your grandmother again. Yes.
And we're also starting to talk about doing some different things as well.
Hey, sorry, see,
There you go. The dog had to make an appearance before the podcast. He was
yes.
ready.
Yeah.
my son is here mowing my lawn, and so he let the dogs in, and now she's barking at the lawnmower through the window.
We're starting to think of new ideas as well to do with the kits, and maybe some like fun challenges with things that folks might have around home. We're just I'm in like a little bit of a strange web of overlapping semesters with terms. And so things have been really quiet on the page for about 2 weeks now, as I've been marking thousands of pages of essays and so on and so forth. So, and then mom, of course, has been running the kit initiative sort of solo on her own. So I'm getting ready to get back in there, and we're going to try and revamp the page a little bit, because it's been pretty silent for the last little bit, and get some new ideas. And we have lots of new items coming up for auction. Mom's been very busy. As you can see, that there's a paint pour behind her on the wall that she just did recently.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a number of different things that that we'll be putting up for auction in the coming week or so as well.
So if artists want to get involved too and provide a piece, they can just contact you through Facebook and
just through our Art Feeding Families Facebook page.
Okay. And so Anna, for those listening and watching, it's you can do that part globally, right? Like if I'm
Yes.
Yeah.
if I'm anywhere I am, I can donate a piece of art kind of thing. And
Yeah.
awesome. Cool.
We really do prefer that it's art that people have made themselves,
Okay.
as opposed to art they just own from somewhere else that they would like to donate. We just like that personal aspect of being able to connect people through creativity and build community that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll definitely have all that information in the show notes here on YouTube and on the podcast sites, and likely are on the screen here. I'm going to try to put something on here. Although there's three talking heads which I haven't had yet on the show, so that there's less screen real estate. Well, anyways, before I let you go, just thanks again for coming on, and thank you for the work you're doing. I just love hearing when people come up with these really creative ideas to keep us connected and to help out. And I think that's been, the most inspirational part for me doing this podcast and talking to people is I think everybody seems to just have this motivation to be a part of it, and not just retreat and be passive.
I think just hitting on what you just said, I think that this is like a time when we all have this, we always have this innate or like yearning to belong to something bigger than just ourselves, but now more than ever.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for all the work you're doing and for coming on and sharing it. And hopefully we can send some people your way.
Excellent.
Sounds very good. Thanks for having us.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, have a good day in Weyburn and in New Westminster. Is that what you
New
said?
Westminster. Yeah.
I'm terrible with the Vancouver suburbs. I never know which
That's
are what.
okay.
We just say
so
Vancouver. It's all Vancouver, right?
Yeah,
That's
it is
right.
all Vancouver.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, cool. Well, you have a good day.
Yes,
You
you
too.
too. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out the Pandemic People podcast. If you're on YouTube, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you're listening on a podcasting app, I hope you follow me on there. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're releasing new episodes. If you'd like to reach out and provide some feedback, maybe you have some suggestions about the show, please email info@pandemicpeople.ca. Again, that's info@pandemicpeople.ca. Hope to see you next week. Remember, we are all pandemic people.